Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with the juice. So y'all have been after me to finish the series on The Last Wish and the short stories contained in The Last Wish. So I'm back to grant your wish with the fourth short story, A Question of Price. So the events in A Question of Price played out kinda in episode 4 of the Witcher series on Netflix. But I'm gonna give you the juice on what really happens in the book. The short story opens up with Geralt in a tub of water. He's getting clean and shaven and pristine, and he's being attended by the castellan of Cintra, Haxo. Haxo tells Geralt that he must wear these specific clothes that they have for him: shirts, underpants, trousers, tunic, and boots. Geralt doesn't even know why he's there, and Haxo claims that he doesn't know either, and it's not his business to know, and he's only tasked with getting Geralt dressed and to the banquet. They have even taken Geralt's dagger and his possessions. Haxo says that he doesn't need it. No one has daggers at the banquet. Geralt notices there's a sigil on his clothes. And this is the part where Haxo informs Geralt that he has an alias. And during the banquet, Geralt will be referred to as the Honorable Ravix of Forhorn, and the sigil is his coat of arms. And as the guest of honor, he will sit next to the queen, as that is her wish. The banquet that Geralt is attending is a coming-of-the-age celebration for Princess Pavetta. Princess Pavetta is turning 15, and as is the custom, contenders for her hand have turned up in their dozens. Queen Calanthe wants Pavetta to marry someone from Skellig, and all of this makes sense to Geralt, but what does not make sense to Geralt is why he is there. What on earth could Queen Calanthe need with a witcher, and a witcher disguised as a lord with no weapons or anything? After some bullshitting, Haxo breaks it down the best that he can. "Something bad happening, Geralt," he muttered. "In the castle, something is frightening people." "What?" "What usually frightens people. A monster. They say it's small, hunchbacked, bristling like an urchin. It creeps around the castle at night, moans and groans in the chambers." Geralt asks Haxo if he's seen it. Haxo says no. Geralt thinks this whole thing smells like bullshit, and it doesn't make sense to him. I mean, if there is a monster in the castle, why on earth would it attend an engagement feast? And why does Geralt need to be in disguise? And how would he slay it if he doesn't have his weapons or possessions? So at the banquet, Geralt is seated directly to the right of Queen Calanthe. People are coming in, being announced by the herald, and King Bran's redheaded nephew is there to marry Pavetta. Bumbaclat! Just kidding. A different King Bran, guys. So Mousak arrives with the men of Skellig. Calanthe is quiet, and Geralt is just observing. Eventually, Queen Calanthe says that she has a job for Geralt. They go back and forth, and Geralt tells Calanthe that he gathers that she has mistaken his trade for a different profession. Geralt tells Calanthe that she mistakes his trade for that of a hired killer. Geralt informs her that he does not kill people for money regardless of the cause. Calanthe tells Geralt a very interesting statement. A moral question, if you will. The title of this story, A Question of Price. "Kings," continued Calanthe, "divide people into two categories: those they order around and those they buy, because they adhere to the old and banal truth that everyone can be bought. Everyone. It's only a question of price. Don't you agree?" "Ah, I don't need to ask. You're a witcher after all. You do your job and take the money. As far as you're concerned, the idea of being bought has lost its scornful undertone." Geralt isn't feeling this, and he's dancing around with courtesies instead of outright telling her to go fuck off. The guests are acting a drunken fool. The banquet at Winterfell ain't got shit on this. They're shouting, singing, people are doing animal impersonations. They're dancing, they're reenacting battles and battle songs. They're just having a good fucking time in Cintra. The bottom line is Calanthe is dancing around why she wants Geralt there. He figures he's there to ensure that Pavetta gets to marry King Bran's nephew from Skellig, but the task is unclear to Geralt. Calanthe says that she has plans regarding the marriage alliance with Skellig, and these plans are threatened, and she needs Geralt to eliminate the threat. So Haxo goes to fetch Pavetta to attend her party, and Geralt notices that Mousesack is staring at him, and when he looks down at the table, he sees like breadcrumbs and lobster shells moving all around into runes. That is actually a word, actually a question. So Geralt nods and Mousesack sweeps the crumbs into the floor. When Pavetta is brought down, Calanthe ensures Geralt that he must make sure this alliance with Skellig happens. I have to ensure that? Isn't your will alone sufficient for it to happen? Events might take such a turn that it won't be sufficient. What can be stronger than your will? Destiny. Geralt says basically, what you want is impossible, borderline impossible. And she says, if it didn't border on impossible, I would not need a Witcher. So basically, Calanthe wants Geralt to fight Destiny. Geralt finally answers Calanthe's request with yes. And Calanthe shows him the sword that is hidden behind her chair. So Calanthe instructs Geralt to talk to the others because people are looking at them. They've been talking too long. People are starting to notice. So talk to somebody else. People are dancing and singing and talking, and a Cintran guard comes up and tells Calanthe something, and then a man enters in armor. Please forgive me for disrupting your ceremonious feast. I am Urchin of Erlenwald. Queen Calanthe tells him to take his seat, and he's like, but first, let me finish. I haven't come to Cintra as a guest, but on the matter of great importance and urgency. Calanthe is not pleased. She's like, take off your helmet. The knight says that his face must remain hidden. Geralt catches Mousesack casting like a spell or some shit, like he can feel it in the air. So Queen Calanthe gives in and decides to hear what has brought him here. He tells the story of saving her husband 15 years ago. And this is so very important to the present story. So they exchange words. Calanthe basically accuses the man of preying on her husband. Oh yes, you found a man at the bottom of a ravine, defenseless, wounded, at the mercy of vipers and monsters, and only when he promised you a reward did you help. Urchin accuses Urchin. Like, I know I'm probably not fucking saying that right, but like, sorry. Urchin accuses the queen of lying, knowing her words are false. He said that only after he was saved did the king ask him what Urchin demanded of him. And he asked for what he had but did not know or wasn't expecting. And he came back to Cintra with the queen in labor with Pavetta. Gentlemen and knights, some of you have come to Cintra to ask for the princess's hand. You have come in vain. From the day of birth, by the power of royal oath, the beautiful Pavetta has belonged to me. And that statement caused an uproar. This law of surprise shit to me is fucking barbaric, to say the least, but let's talk about it for a minute. So East or Eist, is the queen's love interest. He is also of Skellig. He came into the party with King Bran's nephew. So he asked the queen if what Urchin says is true. He said, if it's true, the promise must be kept. So people are getting unruly. Chaos is on the edge of breaking out. Mousesack and Geralt keep exchanging weird glances. Geralt's medallion keeps humming and thrumping. But then someone speak up. Kudik. This is what he said. Let us not pretend we've never heard of such request, of the law of surprise as old as humanity itself, of the price a man who saves another can demand, of the granting of a seemingly impossible wish. You will give me the first thing that comes to greet you. It might be a dog, you'll say. A halberdier at the gates, even a mother-in-law impatient to holler at her son-in-law when he returns home. Or you'll give me what you find at home yet don't expect. He goes on to say what it could be. A lover in a wife's bed, but sometimes it's a child marked out by destiny. He goes on to talk about all of the children who have been marked by destiny. He gives examples of heroes who were given as children marked by destiny. They even kind of hint on like the fairy tales. This all seems inspired by Rumpelstiltskin. And all this is said to Queen Calanthe because they do not want her to dice with destiny. But she's all like, these are childhood legends. These are crib tales. And all of this is buffoonery. But she apologizes to her guests and decides to convey a council tomorrow to talk about this shit. But Geralt interrupts. He says a council may not be necessary. Baron Tig tells us about the famous heroes taken from their parents on the strength of the same oath that Urchin received from King Rognar. But why should anyone want such an oath? You know the answer, Urchin of Urwald. It creates a powerful, indissoluble tie of destiny between the person demanding the oath and its object, the child of Suprise. Such a child, marked by blind fate, can be destined for extraordinary things. It can play an incredibly important role in the life of the person to whom fate tied it. That is why, Urchin, you demanded the prize you claim today. You don't want the throne of Cintra. You want the princess. So Urchin agrees. He only wants Pavetta. So Geralt says that it will have to be proved. Geralt says the law of Suprise states that Urchin's case is only proved when the child of Suprise agrees to leave with him. It is the child's, not the parent's consent, which confirms the oath, which proves that the child was born under the shadow of destiny. Urchin is like, hold up, wait a minute. Who are you that you claim to be such an expert in such matters? And that's when Mousesack speaks up and drops a huge bombshell. He knows this law better than anyone else because it applied to him once. He was taken from his home because he was what his father had not expected to find on his return. And by the power of destiny, he became what he is. Yep, so Geralt became a Witcher because of the law of Suprise. And here he is presiding over another law of Suprise exchange that's going to end up in another law of Suprise exchange. Yeah, the law of Suprise is big up in this question of price story. So there was a force that is growing in the room, a supernatural force this whole time. It's filling the hall with like a gray mist. Urchin finally removes his helmet. He's a man that's been cursed to look like a porcupine. Anyway, Calanthe lets Pavetta decide. She's like, Pavetta, do you want to go with this monster? And to everyone's shock, Pavetta says yes. And then all hell breaks loose. People start trying to attack Urchin. Geralt has his back, so does Mousesack, but Pavetta loses it. She has power that she didn't know about. Her cries and screams threw dishes in the floor, chairs and tables went flying, tapestries burned. She lashed everything with her cries like a whip. Plaster is falling from the ceiling. Mousesack calls it a primordial force, and he says Pavetta has no control over it. They try to stop her as the castle walls are about to fall apart. So Mousesack and Geralt finally get Pavetta to stop, and it's like a storm has hit the banquet hall. Mousesack tells Geralt that Pavetta can't be a virgin because if she was, she would not have been able to access the force, the power that was swirling around the hall and breaking shit apart. So it's midnight. Urchin takes his shape as Dooney. So since birth, Dooney has had this curse. His father sent him away to live with someone else because people are suspicious of curses or whatever where he's from. And curses in the royal family could prove fatal to a dynasty. So Dooney is of royal blood. Turns out that Pavetta and Dooney have been seeing each other for some time now, like a year. So Calanthe agrees to let Pavetta and Dooney marry. She won't get in the way of destiny. And Geralt has fulfilled his obligation to the queen because Ice of Skellig will marry the queen, and the alliance between Skellig and Cintra is formed anyway without Pavetta. So Calanthe has Mousesack stay in Cintra to help Pavetta with her powers, like to teach her how to control them and do shit with them. Anyway, Dooney's curse is broken because destiny has been fulfilled. But Dooney says he owes Geralt a debt. He insists, Calanthe, Pavetta, and you, righteous knight, future king of Cintra. In order to become a witcher, you have to be born in the shadow of destiny, and very few people are born like that. That's why there are so few of us. We're growing old, dying, without anyone to pass our knowledge, our gifts on to. We lack successors, and this world is full of evil, which waits for the day none of us are left. Geralt, whispered Queen Calanthe. Yes, you're not wrong, Queen. Duny, you will give me that which you have but do not know. I'll return to Cintra in 6 years and see if destiny has been kind to me. Yep, Pavetta is pregnant, and just like that, Geralt has a child of Suprise. Pavetta and Duny's daughter, Princess Cirilla, aka Ciri. So Ciri was born in the shadow of destiny. She has always belonged to Geralt since she was born. And her parents are Pavetta and Duny. And this story is important. I kind of didn't like how they switched the story up in the show, because I think it's important that Queen Calanthe is the one that brought Geralt there, because in the show it's like he just happens to be there. But no, he was invited there. He was brought there for the specific thing, and it's kind of goes to show like what happens when you try to fight against destiny. You just can't. And the forces in the room weren't gonna let anyone interfere with destiny. So that is the question of price. I will be doing the next short story very shortly. I'm gonna be pushing these out, pumping these out for you guys. I have a lot of Witcher content I'm working on, a lot of A Song of Ice and Fire content I'm working on. A lot of content. Like, I'm back in my zone. I got my mojo back and I'm ready to go. Are you? As always, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone that supports me on Patreon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join the sweet summer family. Okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.